What do you think about the Ohio State not making the tournament?
I figured that Alabama was going to get in when you lose to fucking Iowa by 700 points.
Yeah, I just thought, winning the Big Ten was going to be enough, though.
The Big Ten sucks.
Big Ten does suck, but everyone was going to give a shit for Alabama for not even making their conference championship game.
Yeah, but they're Alabama. I ain't going to be the Alabama coach.
I like that they get to play Clemson again already. Third year in a row now in the playoffs.
That's probably why they did it, too.
Right. Who do you got so far? What's your prediction?
Who's it? Oklahoma and
Oklahoma's going to play Georgia.
I don't know. You got to assume that Oklahoma and Clemson are the two best teams in college football.
That's who I want to see.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see. I would actually like to see fucking Mayfield versus Alabama.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. He would just be cocking off, and Alabama would be trying to murder him.
Yeah, he'd be grabbing his dong again.
I just want to see Baker Mayfield get his dong, really. Mm-hmm. Just anything with Baker Mayfield in it.
On that note, let's get loaded.
Let's begin now.
Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast.
Where we never finish first because we finish last.
Thank you once again for checking out the Loaded Box Podcast. I am Ben Morgan, that is DJ Primo, and he is looking forward to a Baker Mayfield dong grab in a couple of weeks.
Yep. I sound shitty again, so that sucks.
What'd you do?
I said we sound shitty again now that I'm...
Oh, yeah, we're no longer live. I do have to get back to real life, so I'm no longer by your side while you're shirtless on Twitter Live.
Yeah, this kind of stinks. We go from the biggest high of highs to the low of lows.
We had great feedback. We had a great night. We lost some money, but we got our drink on. We got loaded. We got loaded boxed.
We got things done, like kind of website stuff in progress, so that's good. Even though I'm kind of shitty at that.
Technology is not our friend, as you can hear from the podcast.
Yeah.
How about this for a Week 13 Instant Reactions episode, though? We're both in good moods. Our team won. We've got last week in most of your standard fantasy football leagues, so you hopefully won this week and made your playoffs, and now we're here to guide you through the playoffs because our advice...
We want to guide your cocks. Not block your cocks. We want to guide
we will guide it. Yes. We're not a cock block.
Yeah, that's a line from the... what movie is that? Superbad.
Superbad, yeah.
There you go.
Well, let's jump right into the Thursday game. It was Dallas 38, the Redskins 14. What do you got?
Thirsty Thursday is my single syllable here. I got the weekend started a little early since I was off Friday. I was too busy drinking to pay close attention to this game. So I just went back and looked at the box score. Saw Kirk Cousins struggled a little bit. Dallas bounced back. Last night they at the club. I was surprised to see that Dak only had 102 yards, but Alfred Morris had a hell of a game there.
Right. And yes, I got to watch part of this game in your basement while you were out at the bar without me.
Yep.
So my one, what are we calling this? Single syllable?
Yep.
Sustainable, meaning is the Cowboys' offense sustainable without Zeke? Dak in that game threw his first touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. He's now had 4 straight games under 180 passing yards. I looked at their schedule, though. They catch a bit of a break here. They're at the Giants, winnable. At Oakland, winnable. For Seattle, probably winnable.
Still winnable.
And at Philly. And that Philly game, if they keep winning, they might not even be playing all their starters at that point. They legit have a chance here to run the table, but that offense is so bad. Not bad, but I just don't know if it's sustainable.
Zeke will be back. What game would that be? Was it Seattle?
I think for sure by the Seattle game. But
so, that's going to take a lot of pressure off it. Obviously, they run a lot better with him. So they can easily get by the Giants. I think Oakland is easier than... Not easier. I think nobody thinks that they're good. So New York Giants and Oakland seem to be a couple easy wins. So if they get Zeke back,
right,
going against Seattle and Philadelphia, that should be a huge helper.
Yeah, it's just
I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, so do I with that schedule. But if they were playing like any more difficult teams, I wouldn't because, like I said, Dak has just been nothing right now without Zeke. It's just been kind of tough to watch.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, let's jump over to another NFC game. One of the marquee games record-wise, Vikings 14, Falcons 9. Kind of underwhelming after we saw Julio just go off. My instant reaction here is benching fantasy studs. And I want to ask you about this because I know a lot of people that listen are strictly fantasy football listeners, and you always are kind of in a predicament when you have a stud playing in a game against a really good defense. So I want to ask, are you a believer that you always play your fantasy studs, or if it's a shitty matchup, would you take chances with a lesser player who has a better matchup?
You always play you always play your studs, because if you don't play your stud in a tough matchup because you just think that he might not do something and then he goes off, you just look like an idiot. You play them every week because they're a stud for a reason, because you never know what they can do. Like, Julio Jones is better than Xavier Rhodes, I think, at his position.
Right.
So I'm going to take the chances that he can get open, find places, and if he doesn't, he doesn't. But I'm not going to bench Julio and be the idiot that has him on the bench because he goes off for 150 yards and a touchdown in a game like that.
Yeah, I would typically say the same thing because I always say anyways that like if these players are good enough, it doesn't matter who they're going against. Obviously, some matchups are better than others, but studs find a way to get it done no matter who they're playing against. But this game was basically the example of the exact opposite of what me and you preach, because Julio has 2 catches for 24 yards. Matt Ryan finishes under 175 passing yards, no touchdowns. Devontae Freeman comes back, under 75 rushing yards, 1 catch, 7 yards, no touchdowns. Like, these are all studs. Julio and Freeman are first-round picks, and Matt Ryan is a top-5 quarterback last year, and none of them did anything for you. If you were counting on them to make it to the playoffs, they killed you this week.
Yeah, they murdered your life.
What is your takeaway here?
Worst good game I've seen. That was just straight-up boring, though. Like, you want to see this game with a little more scoring if you're just a casual fan. Obviously, if you're a Vikings fan or a Falcons fan, you're going to be locked in no matter what. But if you're just an NFL fan in general, that's like, fuck, I want to see more. It's fun, but it's like, I want to see Julio scoring. I want to see, Latavius Murray had a pretty good game.
Right.
Decent game. But, Stephon Diggs going for a bunch of yards, or Adam Thielen, or Tevin Coleman, and like you said,
Freeman.
Dickhead that just came back.
Yeah.
Freeman going off. But it's like, it was nothing.
Yeah.
Vikings defense stopped, but they both played really good defense. Really.
Right. Yeah, you expect more out of this game offensively when the Vikings just got their 10th win, and then you've got the Falcons coming off a game where Julio goes for over 250. But,
I expected a lot more.
But if you actually like football and like the defensive side of things, it was still a good game. I mean, it came down to Matt Bryant missed a field goal late in the game that would have made it like a 2-point game. But yeah, it was I don't know. I enjoyed the game, but fantasy-wise, yeah, it was terrible for that.
I thought this stat interesting. Case Keenum was 25 of 30. Yeah. But for only 227 yards.
I was saying the offense, what they score total?
14.
14 points, so.
Yeah. It's like, was every pass like a screenplay or that went for 5 yards or what?
I know, because Diggs hardly had anything. Thielen, I think,
was
pretty held in check.
51 yards and Thielen.
Yeah.
Wild.
Let's keep buzzing through these. We got the Patriots 23-3. I want to let you lead off with this one.
Oh, let's see here. Oh yeah, we just need to take a moment of silence. Tyrod got carted off into the locker room. I was hoping you guys would understand. My boy Tyrod got carted off in the locker room. I just want to take a moment to grieve this loss. Doesn't look very good. Never good when somebody gets carted off. And it's probably just good to make a moment of silence with the Bills because now their quarterback is Peterman. So, I mean, it's interception city now. It's tough. It's tough being the president of the fan club and seeing, Aaron Rodgers goes down and now my boy Thyroid's down. It's depressing. I'm sad.
And it really sucks. I mean, it sucks for you. I mean, as the fan club president, yeah. But if you were a real Bills fan, it really sucks because you thought the world was ending when you had to start Peterman and you got blown out. Tyrod comes back, you get a win. You're starting to look like another favorite for the wild card again. And then this happens, and you're like, oh, we are literally back to square one with Peterman, and wild card is not an option anymore.
Yep.
Bills are probably going to have to make a move into my bucket.
Yeah, they might have to.
My instant reaction is body flop. Do you think Rob Gronkowski... You didn't see it?
No, I was going to look it up, but I forgot to.
Okay, well, let me paint you a picture. Rob Gronkowski's running a route. Tre'Davious White is kind of grabbing at him. Probably should have been holding and or interference. Brady lobs the ball up. White comes down with it. And then
interception. I saw the interception.
Yep, and he's laying down, and out of frustration, Gronkowski basically, I wouldn't say body slam, but I think you technically have to be in an upright position to be body slammed. So Gronkowski drops his 700-pound muscular frame filled with, I don't even know, alcohol, semen, and creatine, and just drops onto Tre'Davious White. It was a similar cheap shot to like what Mike Evans would have done. Obviously, he was frustrated due to a no call, but this play was like so anti-Gronk, so anti-Patriots. He's like, I mean, he's intense on the field, but he's such a laid-back dude that I didn't see this coming. So I wanted to ask you, do you think he should have been tossed, or do you think he'll be suspended? But since you didn't see it, I don't know how much of a you'll be able to get out of the picture that I painted for you.
I watched it. I don't know. It didn't look like, I mean, it was after the play, and he just jumped on him.
Yeah, dick move.
What?
A dick move.
I guess it didn't look, I mean, it was a frustrating move. But it's weird because it didn't look like it didn't look like Mike Evans or anything like that. Like he just kind of fell on the guy.
Well, it was the guy's already on the ground version of Mike Evans. Instead of pushing him to the ground, he was on the ground and he flopped on him.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't look egregious, but
I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up getting suspended or at least fined. He'll get fined.
He'll get fined. I don't think he'll get suspended for any games.
If he was black, he would.
Although Goodell. Goodell and the Patriots.
He's out for the rest of the year. He's not coming back.
That would be great.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Nice. Let's go back, move on to the shit bowl. The 49ers
Here we go.
beat the Bears 15-14. Game-winning Robbie Gould revenge field goal. What do you got?
Oh, that was awful. I can't believe they kicked 5 field goals and the 5th one was to win the game. Like, really? I kept showing it like, oh, field goal.
I think they did it on purpose.
My single syllable here is please run. The Bears only ran it 13 times.
Right.
To Jordan Howard for only 38 yards. And against a team that's not really good at stopping the run, I don't know what's going on there because, I mean, Jordan Howard has had a good year rushing as far as yards go.
Right.
And the last 2 games have just been shit. And if you're a fantasy person, you're relying on this guy to have good games. Like you're definitely not benching him against fucking the San Francisco 49ers. Then he comes out and gives you 13 for 38. Give him the rock more.
Yeah,
please.
It's crazy. It's not like the Bears forgot how to run block, and it's not like it was a blowout where you have to turn to the pass game. Like the run was always an option in this game. That's why you see 13 carries. It's crazy.
And they had 35 just like 3 weeks ago. And you're like, I don't understand.
I was like, maybe he's tired.
Continue to give him 30 carries.
Maybe he's tired.
Damn it.
I thought it was funny too because in our preview podcast you had mentioned where's Tariq Cohen, and then he has like the craziest punt return of the season. Other than that, though, I mean he's still not even a factor on offense. Just special teams today. So you probably didn't get any fantasy points out of him because he was probably on your bench. So I wouldn't even feel bad benching those points today. My single syllable instant reaction is quarterback insurance. Asking you, is Jimmy Garoppolo worth a waiver claim as an insurance at quarterback? 'Cause I'm guessing you're not going to start him, but as you're entering fantasy football playoffs now, you really got to hone in on your roster. If you're down to one quarterback and you need an insurance guy, do you just have an extra? Do you have an extra position player and you just pray that your quarterback doesn't get hurt? Or do you grab a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo who might put up decent numbers? He had 26 completions, almost 300 yards, no touchdowns. But that was against a decent Bears defense. Well, yeah. I mean, it was his first start on the road, good defense. Would you consider adding Jimmy G?
I mean, if I got a backup quarterback injured already or something like that. His next 2 games were against the Texans and the Titans, so those are pretty good matchups.
Not bad, right?
For him. But after that, it's the Jaguars and then the Rams. So if you had, I would assume that you already have a quarterback going into the playoffs. And if they get injured, I don't think Garoppolo is your best option for matchup, especially with the guys that he has there. At best, you're using him against the Titans and have to try to use him against the Jaguars and the Rams. I'm probably not using Garoppolo. I'm probably trying to find somebody to be a better.
Is that Rams game week 17?
Yeah.
So you don't need to worry about that one, most likely. But if you're in championship game against the Jaguars, that's a shitty matchup.
There's zero chance. I'm looking at matchup because I don't feel like I'd have any competition. So I wouldn't be like the first guy that I went to pick up. I'd look to see who else is out there, like Josh McCallum or something like that.
Yeah,
I'd be more likely to take than somebody like him.
I don't mind him. I think he makes the people around him better than what we saw other 49ers quarterbacks.
Like Bortles.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's actually a realistic waiver wire guy. Like, it's not even a bad idea. So yeah, maybe add Bortles instead of Jimmy G.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the Packers overtime win, 26-20. I'm letting you kick it off.
My single syllable playoffs. Playoffs. We want to talk about playoffs? It's perfect, man.
Wait, let me cut in real quick. Why is it always the Colts coaches that are crazy?
I don't know. That doesn't make any sense.
Jim Mora, fucking Pagano.
This is 2 days ago you declared us dead, and I was telling you, and just look, man, everything's falling into place. They win at the Browns next week. Come on, they're going to beat the Browns. I don't give a shit. If it's, like, lots of things would have to go wrong for even them with Huntley to lose to the Browns.
Oh, I don't know, man.
And then Rodgers comes back to beat Carolina, Minnesota, and Detroit and steal that wild card. Detroit's already starting their shit right now.
Yep.
Plus, all his pieces are already falling into place. Carolina lost today, right?
Yep.
Detroit lost today.
You got it.
Atlanta lost today.
Yep.
You're such an asshole. Tonight. What?
Said you're such an asshole.
Seattle's about to lose tonight. Like, they're setting this up. It's set up so perfectly. Beat the Browns, get Rodgers back for Carolina, beat those division rivals in Minnesota, and then beat Detroit to steal the wild card spot right in that last game, just like fucking they always do, like last year. Oh my God, it's gonna be a non-Packers fan that has to live in Wisconsin's nightmare and a Packers fan's dream.
That is true. Okay,
Talking about you.
So you got that one. So you paint a very nice picture. I'll give you that. You paint a great picture. But I'm not flaky. I'm not turning my back on my prediction. There's no way all of that stuff that you said that actually seems somewhat realistic now happens. Like, I'm thinking that this is going to be it.
It started happening today.
It is really convenient. All that shit just kind of fell into place.
It was awesome.
Plus,
they have the tiebreaker against Seattle, and once they beat Carolina, they have a tiebreaker against them and Dallas as well.
You realize, though, just how lucky that. I mean, how many times did the Buccaneers shoot themselves in the foot today? I mean, between the missed snaps, not protecting Winston whatsoever, like
it's all about getting the win. To tell Aaron Rodgers 2 wins and Aaron Rodgers back to go take the rest of the way 3-0. It's the fucking Buccaneers and the Browns. You think it's like they planned this.
And Jay Glazer's report today said that if you watched Aaron Rodgers in practice, you would say, what collarbone injury?
Yeah.
So that's great. My instant reaction here is playoff spark. And no, I'm not talking about the Packers here. I'm asking you, because you got to watch this whole game. You saw every snap. Is Peyton Barber worth a waiver wire ad if you need a playoff spark? He went 23 for 102 on the ground, leading receiver yardage-wise, 4 for 41. What do you think about adding Peyton Barber?
You know, he seemed to be – it was weird. Number one, Doug Martin should probably be back next week, so I'm not as high on that. I still think that they're going to continue to have him be the starting running back there, but he did look better than Doug Martin has looked as of lately. Yeah. So who knows? Doug Martin would have been a guaranteed start for me against the Packers, but like they were stuffing the run for a while, and then it seemed like the second half is when Peyton Barber really started to take off there, and he was just finding holes everywhere. And Green Bay couldn't do anything about it, but the problem was, the second half was when a bunch of their defensive, linemen were getting hurt. Kenny Clark kept coming in and out. was part of what the reason he was stuffing them. I don't know. I guess you got their matchups coming up?
Yeah. Let's see here. He's got versus
Lions,
Detroit Falcons, Panthers.
Well, I definitely wouldn't play him against the Panthers. But I mean, they haven't been able to run this entire time, and I just think it was the right matchup.
That's the thing. I'd be really nervous. If I had him, I'd be nervous to start him. The thing is, though, there's some studs that you already talked about that are underperforming, and there's been some injuries. You see, you got Jordan Howard that's been struggling. You've got Amir Abdullah that got hurt, and kind of like a wide-open Detroit backfield now with him being out. You got Doug Martin, who on that same team, but even when he's been playing, he was struggling. So maybe even if he's back, I don't know, Barber might even dip into his touches a little bit. But the Buccaneers just make me so nervous on offense that I'd have a real tough time starting him. That'd be my issue.
Doug Martin did look like he was about to go off last week before he got injured.
That's true.
So that's also
then he got injured, so who knows?
Then he got injured. So who knows what would happen? But I don't know. It'd be real tough to just pick a guy up like that in the playoffs and put him in, not knowing what the hell you're going to get. And if I wouldn't do it personally.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I just feel like he might be a hot name on the waivers. Yeah. Let's move on to an AFC South battle. The Titans 24, the Texans 13. I'll jump into this one. I'm going to single syllable 2015 quarterback debate. Here you go. I'm putting you on the spot.
No, here we go.
You got Marcus Mariota. You got Jameis Winston. Two high picks. Who are you taking if you're starting a franchise between these two? We've kind of talked about this. I don't remember if it was on a podcast or just in general. I'll paint it up a little bit here. Mariota's last 4 games, 4 touchdowns, 7 picks, 13 total touchdowns this season.
Jesus Christ.
Winston, I don't have numbers on him, but more just kind of like my take. I'm thinking Winston, with his decision-making and knack for just turnovers, he's kind of like a new Jay Cutler where he can get it done. He's got a big arm. He just doesn't quite have it mentally. Whereas Mariota, it's not like he's making terrible mistakes, but they're treating him so much like a game manager. Whereas, I'm comparing Winston to Cutler, and I'm making Marcus Mariota Alex Smith.
Even with all those comparisons, I'm probably leaning Mariota right now just because of Jameis Winston's decision-making. I just can't have a guy who says, coming in the game, I'm going to be much more patient, I'm going to make better throws, better decisions, but then he continues to make some of the dumbest throws. I mean, Packers should have had at least 2 picks, because that thing was a fumble, that wasn't an interception, so they should have had at least 2 interceptions in that game. He's just bad. He just doesn't make some of those throws he was trying to make, like he tried to throw one, I don't know what he was doing, rolling to his left to Mike Evans but he was throwing it at like his knees, and across his body, a guy from Green Bay came across.
Yes, that's right.
All of his damn decisions are just awful. Like, I wasn't even worried with how bad the defense was in that last drive because I knew Jameis Winston would somehow fuck it up.
Right.
It just doesn't feel. Yeah.
Part of me wants to say that I would take Winston if I had to choose between the two. I mean, so I'm looking at it from like my favorite team's perspective. Ever since Marino retired, football that I remember, all the Dolphins have ever had is game managers, and it just doesn't work. It has to work for like a certain team, like a specific team that either has a great running game or a great defense. Whereas Winston will give you an opportunity to win, kind of regardless what's around you. But that's what the Dolphins are with now. It's like Jay Cutler. You have a guy that just makes terrible decisions, and it doesn't matter. So I'm torn between the two. I don't want to write either of them off. But, man, I was really high on Winston coming out of the draft. I thought he was going to be fine.
So was I.
It's just not there.
Right now,
something's missing.
That's why I'm so hard to go with Mariota. But I mean, Mariota's been more consistent quarterback over the life of the career so far, the better one. Where Winston looked like he would be better in the future, but it doesn't look like Winston's going to change.
No, he just, like you said, that's the thing. You thought maybe the turnovers would go away at one point. They're just not going away. Let's go on to the Dolphins.
Oh, not even going to hear my single syllable.
Oh, what did you? I'm sorry, I thought you went first.
No, I didn't go at all.
Oh,
boy.
What do you got?
I got my single syllable is bad beat. This is for all you gamblers out there. Derrick Henry scores a garbage touchdown to kill lots of gamblers' dreams out there, and also one of my picks. The one that I was going to win, so if you took my braces suck this last week, you're welcome.
Looks like you'll be doing it again.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
That's 6-0 the last 2 weeks for my Embraces Suck. No big deal.
How fantastic is that? You can hang your hat on that record. I'm supportive of it. Nice. Now let's move on to the Dolphins thrashing of the Broncos. Words I never thought I'd say. 35-9. What have you got for us?
LOL.
Nice.
Spelled out.
That's
the only
all right.
person I can really talk about is Kenyon Drake here. Is he potentially a good flex play going forward? Is Damian Williams out?
Not out. Like there's a chance that he comes back, but
who cares though? Because it
Right.
looks like Kenyon Drake kind of just took over the position right there. But going forward, they do have the Pats, Bills, Chiefs, and Bills.
yes, which he already scored once against the Pats. Obviously, he's never played the Bills since they play him twice, and the Chiefs give up points to everybody. So
the
yeah,
Chiefs is definitely a play.
Kenyon Drake probably is a good flex play going forward. For how weird that is to say, but yeah,
Is
today
he better than Jay Ajayi?
I don't want to say that yet. He has issues protecting the ball. He seems to have pretty solid vision.
A little more elusive. Yeah.
He's elusive. He's decently good with speed. He's not a great. I don't consider him like an everyday back. I think he'd be a better complementary piece. But I mean, for right now, the way that offense is, that's really all they have is just complementary players. So he's getting the job done. And then without Williams today, he basically got pretty much every carry until it was garbage time, and they put in a different backup that's not fantasy relevant. But yeah, I'm comfortable using Drake as a flex right now, especially with those teams coming up. My instant reaction is incompetence. The Dolphins finally found a team as incompetent as they are. So this is like a quick game recap of what went down. Cutler throws 2 picks. Kenny Stills fumbles. However, the Broncos' performance made those things seem like they never even happened.
Yeah.
Simeon throws 3 picks. They get 2 safeties. They allow an onside kick. They allow 145 rushing yards to a team that cannot run. That team was unbelievably hard to watch. Every game I watch for the Dolphins, I'm like, well, the Dolphins quarterback is by far the worst quarterback in this game. Trevor Simeon was throwing the ball to areas that it's like you have no reason to be throwing it there. At one point, while the game was like, before it was garbage time, Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders had combined for like 2 catches. They finished the game with 4 catches, 38 yards in garbage time, basically. I want to ask you, is this a good home for Kirk Cousins? Because after watching this Broncos team, they have a good defense. Their defense is fine. Today was kind of, I mean, they give up a lot of points, but the offense puts them in such shitty situations. Wow. This is on the quarterback. They need a new quarterback. They need some help on the offensive line. C.J. Anderson and Booker, I believe, could get it done. They're just not getting opportunities because they're down by so much all the time. This is on the quarterback. Do you think Kirk Cousins would be a solid fit?
I mean, yeah, it's just a situation where a team is giving up because your offense is so inept that it doesn't even matter and their defense is irrelevant. And so they're just giving up things. Like, you can tell when they have somebody to play for, they play a lot better. When, like, they had Peyton Manning sucked, but he gave them a confident, a chance because he just made decisions up, and then the defense knew they had to go up there and make plays, and Peyton Manning wasn't going to lose the game.
Right.
This is like your offense is losing the game, so fuck it. Let's throw in the towel.
Right. No, something's got to happen, and the Redskins.
But yeah, Kirk Cousins might fit well.
I kind of like that fit because I don't think Cousins is the guy that's going to go out and win those games, but he's not nearly as bad as Paxton Lynch, who, by the way, shaved that facial hair. I think he got too much hate on Twitter.
Did he?
Looked like a new man on the sideline today.
God, it was awful.
Osweiler sucks. Simeon sucks. They need to do something. I don't know if the answer's in the draft for him or not, depending on where they end up being. But
especially being a quarterback, he'll make something happen.
Yeah, that's kind of why I think it might be Cousins. But let's move over to a disappointing team, the Kansas City Chiefs, 31, losing to the Jets, 38. What do you got?
It's time, is what I'm saying. And I know. Said you can't get any lower than beating the Pats and the Eagles. And now losing like 5 of your last 6 or whatever it was, 6 less.
I think they're 6 of 7 now.
Yeah, and including losing to the Jets. And I'm like, this team needs a spark now. This goes back to what we were just saying about the Broncos. Everybody's just losing confidence out of the team. It's time for Mahomes. Like, what are they, 6-6 now? I understand you're going to come at me with like, Alex Smith. Alex Smith had a good game. You had a good stat line. But you know what? Previous to this point, he's played like fucking garbage. So they have to go up and play against somebody in the next couple of weeks. He's probably gonna end up playing like garbage anyways. They're tanking right now. It seems like they need something. They need to pull out Patrick Mahomes.
See, I think it's time. It's time next year for Mahomes. Like I'm in that big of a disbeliever of Alex Smith that you let him finish out this season, and then after this season, yeah, you part ways. You try something new. 366 passing yards, 70 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. Dude, quarterbacks don't play defense. You can't give up 38 points to the Jets. That's why I get the whole spark thing. It's like yeah, bring in a new body. Maybe that shakes it up. I understand that side of it. But you can't bench the quarterback on something like that. Not after that kind of game. You're on crazy pills.
Just in the last 2 games, they've scored fucking 10 points against the Bills and 12 points in overtime against the Giants. And 17 points against 3 games. It's like, I mean, they're not putting up any points. They're not doing anything offensively. Alex Smith hasn't done anything, so yeah, they put up 31 points here, but it's just
I think you're doing the team a disservice if you turn your back on him now. Like, do it when he was struggling. You can't do it after 4 touchdowns. You can't do it after 4 touchdowns and over 400 yards of offense. Like, you just can't do it now.
The Giants just said back at Eli fucking Manning. I couldn't turn their back on shit ass Alex Smith.
It sounded like you were underwater there. What just happened?
I don't know. Am I better now?
Yeah, you're better now.
I was just saying. Oh.
I'll go on. Mine is a usable Jet. Robbie Anderson, last 5 games, averaging almost 100 yards per game, 5 touchdowns over the last 5. For the season, 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. Who'd have thought a Jets wide receiver would have done that? And he's tied for the 3rd in the NFL with catches for over 20 yards. So I was kind of proven wrong. This guy looks decent. I don't want to call him like a clear-cut number 1 wide receiver that I would like to build around, but I think he can be part of a solid offense. I really like Ardarius Stewart. I know you were high on him. That's a couple of building blocks.
Yeah. I mean, you weren't 100% wrong because we did tell everybody that talked about Robbie Anderson to use him last week, so
true,
we at least got that right.
That's true. What do you grade Marcus Peters' flag toss?
I wanted to talk about that. I just fucking love that he like when somebody does that, I get so happy, man. Like I can see myself getting so pissed that I would just chuck something to the stands. And a flag is like the best thing to do, and it's on the road, so the Jets fans were so pumped at the same time because it was like they loved it. The guy was so frustrated, and they didn't beat by the Jets in the Jets' home that they threw it, and they were just having a great time with that flag.
I loved that he picked the ref's flag off the ground and threw it like it was a grenade that was about to go off. He just heaved that thing, and the guy that caught it in the stands was unbelievably happy. I hope Marcus Peters finds that guy afterwards and just signs that for him or something, because that's like an awesome piece of memorabilia to have from that game.
Did the ref have an extra flag?
No, he had to throw his hat, and I was thinking how great would it have been if Marcus Peters would have grabbed his hat and threw his hat into the crowd as well.
That was incredible.
I loved it. Let's go on to the Jags and the Colts. My instant reaction is a hard pass. Let's go on to yours.
That's a single syllable right there.
Yes.
Nice job. We get it right every once in a while. Mine is Bortle Service.
Ooh.
Motherfucker, 26 of 35.
Motherfucker
with 26 of 35 for 309 yards and 2 touchdowns? What? If he can gain confidence and play like that, the Jaguars could be even scarier than they already are if they have the front, although they were playing against the worst pass defense in the league. But it could be a confidence booster. You know, let him go out there and throw it around a little bit, see if he builds off of that. You
just defended yourself with what I was going to come back against you, because you just got done ripping on Alex Smith for playing against the crappy D, and now you're talking about Bortle Service here putting up 30 against the Forest Colts team. They do keep winning. That AFC South race is going to come down to the end. We are going to have at it.
Titans have no fucking chance, and you know it.
I don't even want to talk about that division right now.
Okay.
Let's move on to the Ravens fucking killing the Lions 44-20. My instant reaction, is it happening again?
Yeah.
Detroit, I think it is, man. Detroit goes into this game at 6-5. They're in the thick of things in the wild card hunt. They never had a chance against not a terrible Ravens team, but I would say average at best.
Yeah.
What I think here, like, the balance was gone against this week for the Lions. They only had 78 rushing yards, 3.3 yards per carry. This Lions team, even if somehow they kind of just limp into the playoffs, they're not going to be a factor. I like what they've got going on, but they need to continue investing in that defense. They need to continue investing in that offensive line, and they need to find a running back that can get it done between the tackles. Because they start winning these games, it starts getting cold. They don't play well late in the end of the year. It all falls on Stafford and the defense. If you can get a running back that can get it done in between the tackles, ask Stafford to do a little bit less and give your defense a little bit more chance to rest and be healthy and be better equipped to play at the end of these games in December. That's going to make a huge difference, and that's what I think the Lions need to get over this hurdle, because this hurdle is here every single year.
But the reason you like the Lions recently is because of the ability of Amir Abdullah to actually start running between the tackles. You just recently talked about this. They started running the ball a lot more and not making Stafford do as much because Abdullah does have that a little bit of that ability, and he was scoring near the goal. Like, they were using him as their goal line back because he's elusive and he's quick. And I think once he goes away, they kind of lose that because Theo Riddick doesn't run in between the tackles.
Right, and I totally agree with that. And I'm not saying to cut ties with Abdullah. I think he can be fine too, but he's proven ever since he's been in the league that he can't play a full season. Like, I think they need another guy and then use Abdullah with him. Like, him and Riddick are too similar for me. I need to have I need a bit more of a bruiser. I really wanted Deontay Foreman to go to the Lions. Yeah, that's very true. But just Abdullah's health has just been that concern. I think they need another body in there that can just take a bit more of a pounding.
Yeah, I bet.
What do you got?
Same old shit, dog. That's my single syllable. It's gonna happen. They do have not too difficult of matchups coming up here before they get the Green Bay Packers in the last week.
Yeah, the schedule was kind of favorable. The schedule was favorable.
They got the Buccaneers, the Lions.
They are the
Buccaneers,
Lions.
The Bears, and the Bengals.
Right.
Bunch of bitches. Bunch of bees.
It might come down to them needing to win out, though, with the way the NFC South is, with your hypothetical Packers scenario. Like, they legit might need to win out.
They would need to. Exactly. Well, that's the thing. Imagine if they both go. It'd be just like that last. It'd be 9-6 if they both win out in the last game. Could be potentially playing for a wild card again. And it's Aaron Rodgers versus the Lions. What do you think would happen?
Yeah.
What do you think could happen?
How great is it that that's going to be that matchup again?
Everybody knows what's going to happen.
Let's move on to the Chargers. 19-10 win over the Browns. A little underwhelming. I thought they'd score more than 19.
Yeah.
My instant reaction is that it's happening. The Chargers are now tied for the division lead, and the Chiefs look lost. The Chargers' remaining games are Redskins, Chiefs, Jets. Redskins. Chiefs, Jets, Raiders. They basically control whether or not they're going to make the playoffs now, since 3 of those 4 are either a division games or a team in the wild card hunt. And once again proved that today the Chiefs are not a team that you're going to put your faith in. Even though the Chargers didn't look great against the Browns today, a 9-point win over a crappy team is a lot better than a whatever point loss to the Jets.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's the Chargers. It's almost like the Chargers division to win at this point. I think it's hard not to think that they don't win the West here. They look like between their suffocating pass rush. They can't stop the run. They did today, which was annoying to me with the guy who's got Isaiah Crowell.
It's a sweet name.
But that pass defense and that pass rush is disgusting. So if it comes down to the end of a game where a team's trying to make a last drive, they won't have a fucking chance.
Right.
Bosa and Ingram coming off the edge, and Casey Hayward just defending anybody on the edge, on the outside. It's just they can close out a game.
No, I totally agree, and that's not what we're typical of seeing from the Chargers. Yeah. Typically they can't, but the defense is better. The offense didn't totally get it done today, but it's been getting it done. So what do you have for this one?
I said, he's hot boy. He's warming up. My boy Keenan Allen, is he now the most dangerous wide receiver in fantasy football? He is just putting on shows.
Yeah.
10 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown.
Yep.
I had this guy in a PPR. I've got him in multiple leagues, and he's just murdering it lately.
Unbelievably, not even consistent the last 3 weeks, but like a blow up the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And the only person right now that's just as scary, I mean, you always have like your threats of like a Julio that I think should be
Antonio
doing
Brown.
better, but yeah, it's Antonio Brown. Like that's the only other guy right now that can be. I don't know. I'm trying to think of another guy that's been as hot. Like Elshon's been hot lately. Robbie Anderson's been hot lately. But if you're giving me the options between all those guys, I'm taking Keenan Allen every day.
God, I love Keenan. I love him right now. That touchdown, did you see his touchdown today?
Yep.
They were at like the 10-yard line, and all he does is give this guy an outside move and goes back up the seam, and that guy basically just shit his pants. Jock fell off. It was a wide open seam, he busted it wide open. It was just a perfect route.
Yeah, his route running is nasty. He doesn't drop the ball.
It's beautiful.
He literally does everything. Those who were able to get him in like a third or fourth whatever round, just kind of ignored those injuries. That's why you always say you can't really hold injuries against somebody because of this.
That's why I drafted him.
Because he's hot now when you need him to make the playoffs, and then when you enter the playoffs, like this is perfect timing if you have Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Let's talk some Raiders and Giants. Raiders win 24-17. What do you got?
That's just adding on to the AFC West mess, Just three-way tie, basically, between those three up there. Maybe the Raiders are a little bit more of a fraud than I want them to be because, I'm a closet, Raiders fan. So I'm going to think that they can – their defense is looking a little better, but they did play the fucking Giants. Who they played last week? I don't know. But they were swarming the fuck out of them.
The Broncos.
The Broncos. Oh, that's who it was, yeah. So exactly.
Yeah.
I guess that's nothing to write home about. But it's just still a mess. You don't know what can happen. But I always think that Derek Carr can get hot. And he obviously didn't have Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree today, so that makes a huge fucking difference. He didn't really have a lot of guys to throw it to, so he made the best of what he did, and they won the game.
I say they got the win, and that's kind of the same instant reaction I have. It's don't get excited. This Raiders team feels a lot like last year's Dolphins team. They're winning games. They're just kind of finding a way to get it done at the end. But if they make the playoffs, I feel like they're just kind of limping in at this point, and they're not going to really make that much noise. You hit on the loss of Crabtree and Cooper, and that was obviously felt, but it's not like they were crushing it and tearing it up before this anyways. So you're playing at home against the Giants with Geno Smith. This should not have been as close of a game it was late in the fourth quarter. That's why I'm saying, it's great they got the win. A win is obviously better than a loss.
Dude.
It's the most obvious thing to ever say. But this game shouldn't have been close, so don't get excited.
Evan Ingram is sick, though.
I love Evan Ingram.
He's a tight end one.
Oh, gosh, yeah, easy.
That one-handed catch he made in this game. Did you see the one-handed catch?
Yeah.
That was just gross. He's murdering it.
Yep, I've got him in about 3 leagues, and obviously super late. So
he's money.
He was like my tight end 2
Doesn't
in a lot
matter
of
who the
leagues.
quarterback is.
Nope, you're just gonna keep feeding him. So yep.
He's like a better Jimmy Graham. He's bigger and faster, more athletic. It seems like he's a better Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, and that's what they kept saying. They're literally just gonna line him up outside. Don't ask him to do too much in the run game.
But he can block.
Treat him as a wide receiver. He can get it done.
Run block though.
Yeah, he can get it done. In order for him to be on that Jimmy Graham level, he's gonna have to keep doing it over and over again. But I mean, he's doing it with garbage right now around him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any Odell Beckham. I think he might get less targets, but geez, he might even be more efficient once Beckham's back next year.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Saints and the Panthers. Saints get a 10-31 win. What do you got?
Is there anything that they can't do? And when I say they, I'm talking about the Saints. This fucking team, it doesn't even need Drew Brees to be awesome right now. They're just running it all over. They're toss it out to Kamara or run it with Kamara and Ingram. It's unfair right now. And then they're just playing phenomenal defense. It's just that they have so many ways. I almost like them more than I like the Eagles right now, honestly.
They look so good, and the Panthers aren't a great team, but handle them kind of the way they did. I think the Panthers scored at the end there with Funch's touchdown. Funch's touchdown.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they kind of just handled them this game, and we have a similar takeaway. Mine is extending careers because, once again, Kamara and Ingram get it done, and Brees is literally just along for the ride at this point. I'm looking at the numbers right now. Ingram and Kamara, they didn't have that many carries. Ingram went 14, Kamara only had 9, but Ingram gets 85 and a touchdown. Kamara gets 60 and 2 touchdowns. And then you look at receiving, they combine for 11 catches and over 100 yards. It's ridiculous. You look at Brees, he still threw the ball 34 times, but he was efficient. 25 completions, 269 yards and a touchdown. Like, he's just not being asked to do quite as much. They're treating him the way I want the Lions to be able to use Stafford.
Yeah.
One thing here, I'm not huge on like player comps, but performance-wise, doesn't Kamara just remind you like of Marshall Faulk, just being able to get it done, running, receiving, and just the moves he has? And he's not like he's like a one-trick pony. Like, he needs to avoid tacklers. Like, he can run through people, he can break tackles.
Blasted at the 1 yard line and then somehow fell in.
Right. Like, I don't know. I don't want to I don't want to overhype this guy or anything, but gosh, he looks so freaking good.
Yeah, I'd like to jizz my pants over him yet, but right now he looks amazing.
You will soon. One final.
I've learned to temper expectations for a little bit at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I wouldn't go out like thinking like, oh, he's going to be the next MVP like Marshall Faulk was at any point, but like, I don't know.
I don't want my hot takes to get exposed, all right?
There you go. Last game, Rams-Cardinals. Rams 32, Cardinals 16. What do you got?
I like to get golf in your face.
There you are.
Well, not a great stat. Not great stats for golf today, but this guy continues to get it done. Definitely my best fantasy addition of the entire year. You were able to pick him up. Use him every week. He's been doing pretty well. Love him. Love the guy. He continues to score.
Yeah, so Goff's getting it done. The Rams once again get it done. They double up on him. But I'm going to do – this is going to be more of like a bold prediction, instant analysis here.
All right.
It's painful ending because when the Rams lose in the playoffs –
That's what she said.
Yeah, absolutely. Goff in your face.
Yeah.
When the Rams end up losing in the playoffs, it's going to be so painful right now for the fans because they are playing so well. And I think they're a good team, but I think at some point it's going to get exposed because – the youth on this team is going to catch up to them, and I would not be super surprised if they have an early bounce from the playoffs, especially with how strong the NFC is right now. But I think even if they kind of get bounced early this year, I think they're going to keep adding pieces. They're going to keep getting better. But right now, experience is the thing that's missing. They have a second-year quarterback, a rookie head coach, a young running back. The defense is solid. It's not awesome, but it gets the job done. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to have a disappointing finish to the season just because of that youth.
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably end up playing the Packers in the wild card round.
Oh, way to bring that full circle.
I can see that definitely happening. They'd be the unlucky team. When they get the 3 seed, Packers come in as the 6th seed. They have to play them in the first game.
Yeah.
Not much of a chance, sorry.
They go into L.A. where they don't have that much of a home field advantage anyways.
Yeah, and Rodgers is from.
Way to bring that full circle. I'm proud of you for that.
Thanks.
Bold prediction for tonight's game. We got Seattle and Philly.
I said it just started. Seattle turns the ball over 3+ times tonight.
Nice, and I've got Philly being a double-digit winner.
We don't have very much faith in Seattle.
Nope. It's kind of running out, even though they have still a good record. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but they're just going to keep we both have them predicted. I think we both agreed that we could see them not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not as comfortable on that now. It's kind of how the way things shook out today, but
real tough coming up here.
It is, and I just think that defense isn't going to be. The defense is going to let them down without Sherman, Chancellor.
Correct. Exactly.
It's due to happen. So, well, let's wrap this puppy up. We went a little long today. So, anything else you want to call it a day?
Well, I'm ready to go.
All right. As always, follow us on Twitter at LoadedBox. Ask us your fantasy football start-sit questions. We'll hit them there. Check us out later this week. We will have our Week 14 preview pod. I think that's all we got. So thanks again for listening, and DJ, send us out.
Bye.